When I look at my life now, it's hard to believe all of this actually happened. Not because it's some incredible story. On the contrary, it's painfully banal. It's just that I never thought adults I'd known for years could behave so despicably and simultaneously so stupidly. Let me start from the beginning. My ex-husband, let's call him Jake. We've known each other since high school. We always got along well. We were never that couple constantly making out in public and holding hands, just good friends. I still honestly don't understand what came over us when we decided to get married. I guess it was the classic idea. If it's easy with someone, they must be right for marriage. He wasn't. We quickly realized that we worked great as friends, but not as a married couple. There weren't constant fights, just ongoing irritation and the feeling that you're living with the wrong person. After 3 years, we divorced. During that time, we had a daughter, a little girl, sharp as a tack, with huge eyes who remembers absolutely everything she hears. This is important for what happened later. After the divorce, things actually got better, surprisingly. We communicated normally and handled things without drama. Jake left me and our daughter a two-bedroom apartment in the new residential complex and kept paying the mortgage. He moved into a one-bedroom apartment his parents had left him. Everything was surprisingly civil. I was even proud of how maturely we'd handled everything. Eventually, we both started new relationships. I met a guy, let's call him Derek. Smart, successful, attentive. It seemed like everything was falling into place. Jake also met someone. She seemed a bit sharp, but I wrote it off as personality. Not everyone is soft and warm, that's normal. We even became friends as couples. Yes, I know how that sounds now, but at the time it seemed like a sign of our maturity. We'd all get together for coffee, talk about life, make plans. Jake's new girlfriend, I'll call her Miranda, had a daughter from her first marriage, about 6 years old. A quiet girl who always seemed a little tense around adults. One day, Jake and Miranda asked if I could watch her daughter for a few hours. They had something to do, and their regular babysitter had canceled. Sure, why not? We were friends as couples, right? That's what friends do. Everything was fine at first. The girl played with my daughter, they watched cartoons together. Then she asked for candy. Not just one piece, a whole handful. I told her she could have some after lunch. Standard parent response, nothing harsh about it. She looked straight at me and said, "Bitch." I froze. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. But no, she was staring at me, waiting for a reaction. I stayed calm. Years of parenting teach you not to overreact to everything. I knelt down to her level and explained gently that you can't speak to people like that words can hurt. She tilted her head and said, as casually as if she were talking about the weather, "Why not? My mom calls you that. She says you're a bitch." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach, but I kept my composure. I didn't yell, didn't react dramatically. I just said, "Okay, thank you for telling me," and changed the subject. When Jake came to pick her up, I told him exactly what his girlfriend's daughter had said, word for word. I expected him to laugh it off nervously, maybe say she made it up or heard it somewhere else. Kids repeat things, right? They mishear stuff. Instead, he got visibly nervous. His face went red. He started mumbling something incomprehensible, grabbed the child by the hand, and practically ran out the door. He didn't try to discuss it at all, didn't apologize, didn't explain, didn't even pretend to be surprised. Just left. That's when I knew something was off, but I didn't know what yet. After that, things got weird. Jake started messaging me very briefly and only about our daughter. "I'll pick her up at 3. She needs new shoes," that kind of thing. No more casual conversations. Miranda stopped saying hello. If we ran into each other in the hallway, we lived in the same complex, remember, she would literally act like I didn't exist. She'd look right through me, turn away, check her phone. Once I overheard her on the phone in the parking lot. I wasn't eavesdropping, she was just loud. I don't want to run into her. She thinks too much of herself. Then she laughed, a sharp, mean laugh that made my skin crawl. I started to wonder if I'd done something to offend her. Had I said something wrong? Been too familiar? I went over every conversation we'd had, trying to figure it out. I came up empty. Meanwhile, Derek started acting strange too. Always on his phone, stepping away to take a call, changing the subject when I entered the room. If I asked who he was texting, he'd say, "Just work," and put his phone face down on the table. I'm not naturally suspicious. I don't check phones or follow people. I believe in trust until there's a concrete reason not to. But even I started to feel uneasy. One time, I accidentally saw a message pop up on his phone when he was in the shower. It was from an unsaved number. "You promised she wouldn't find out." When he came out, I asked who it was. He said it was work-related, something about a client. I believed him, not because I was naive, but because I genuinely didn't expect adults to be that careless. If you're going to lie, at least do it well, right? Then there was another moment. My daughter, in that innocent way kids have of dropping bombs, said to me one evening, "Dad told me not to tell you, but his lady friend comes over a lot when you're not there." I tried to keep my voice casual. "Which lady, sweetie?" "The one who doesn't say hi to you." My blood ran cold. I asked her what she meant by "comes over." She said she'd seen Miranda at Derek's apartment when Jake dropped her off there once. They told her it was grown-up business and she shouldn't mention it. At that point, things were starting to make sense, even though I desperately didn't want them to. I started paying more attention. I noticed that Jake and Derek sometimes texted at the same time, that when I suggested the four of us get together, there were always convenient excuses, that Miranda's hostility toward me seemed personal in a way that went beyond simple dislike. The ending was painfully simple and predictable. Derek eventually confessed, though not voluntarily. I found messages on his laptop. He'd left it open, and I saw them before I could stop myself. Messages that made it crystal clear he'd been sleeping with Miranda for months. Not once, not by accident. Regularly, deliberately. In my apartment, in his apartment, probably in their cars for all I know. When I confronted him, he tried to minimize it at first, said it just happened, that he never meant to hurt me, all the standard garbage people say when they're caught. But when I pushed, when I demanded the truth, he admitted it had been going on since shortly after we'd all become friends as couples. The worst part? Jake knew. He'd known from the beginning. In fact, from what Derek eventually told me, Jake had practically facilitated it. They'd all been in on it together. Jake, Miranda, Derek, all pretending we were friends, all acting like everything was normal, all lying to my face at coffee dates and casual dinners. Everything finally clicked into place. Why Miranda's daughter repeated those words? Because she'd heard her mother say them, probably multiple times. Why Jake ran away when I brought it up? Because he knew exactly where it came from and couldn't face confronting it. Why Miranda hated me? Because I was the person she was betraying, and it's always easier to hate your victim than to face your own guilt. Why Derek kept lying? Because he's a coward who wanted to keep having his cake and eating it too. The absolute worst part, though, the part that makes me feel sick even now, it's not even the cheating itself. People cheat. It's horrible, but it happens. It's that they dragged children into it. That a 6-year-old girl was taught to call me a bitch by her own mother, that my daughter was told to keep secrets from me about what adults were doing, that these kids were being used as pawns and messengers in a situation they should never have been anywhere near. That's what I can't forgive. You want to be terrible people? Fine, be terrible to each other, but don't teach children to participate in your ugliness. Don't make them complicit in your lies. Don't use them as tools to hurt people. I ended things with Derek immediately, told him to get his stuff and get out. He tried to apologize, tried to explain, tried to make me understand how it just happened. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want explanations or excuses. I wanted him gone. Jake and I had a conversation because of our daughter. It was brief and cold. I told him that from now on, communication would be strictly about parenting and nothing else. No more casual coffee dates. We'd co-parent like adults because we had to, but that was it. He tried to defend himself, said I was overreacting, that it wasn't his relationship, so it wasn't his responsibility to tell me. I told him that watching your friend's partner cheat on them and saying nothing makes you complicit, that using our daughter as a pawn made him worse than complicit. He didn't have much to say to that. Miranda predictably sent me a long message about how I needed to get over it and stop making drama, about how these things happen and I was being immature by cutting them all off. I blocked her number without responding. I had nothing to say to someone who'd teach her child to insult people she was betraying. The hardest part has been explaining things to my daughter without making her feel guilty. She didn't do anything wrong. She was just a kid caught in the middle of adult ugliness. I've told her that grown-ups sometimes make bad choices, and that none of this was her fault, that she did the right thing by telling me the truth, that she should never feel bad about that. I'm not looking for advice. I know what I need to do. I'm already doing it. I've cut these people out of my life as much as possible. Jake and I communicate only about our daughter through a parenting app where everything is documented. I've started therapy to process the betrayal and make sure I don't carry this poison into future relationships. I'm focusing on my daughter and making sure she knows she's loved and safe. I'm writing this because I need to get it out, because holding all of this inside feels like swallowing glass. And maybe because someone else out there needs to know they're not crazy for feeling devastated when people they trusted turn out to be hollow. The truth is, I don't even miss Derek that much. What we had was apparently built on lies anyway, and Jake and I work better as distant co-parents than we ever did as friends or spouses. What I do miss is the version of reality I thought I was living in, the one where adults acted like adults, where people who claimed to care about you didn't systematically lie to your face, where children were taught to weaponize words they didn't understand. I just don't want those people in my life ever again. People who think betrayal is acceptable as long as you don't get caught. People who use children as messengers and shields. People who can look you in the eye and lie so smoothly you never see it coming. I deserve better than that. My daughter deserves better than that. We both do. And now we're going to go find it.